I've seen organizations where there are people with a very strong warrior energy. And it shows, for example, they would work extra time, always after hours, weekends, and so on and so forth. They do a lot of things. Quite often, it's not the one that actually bring the impact on the transformation.
One thing is, if I need to summarize this in one idea, is really to be disciplined, not really motivated. You need to have motivation, but this is not the most important, because sometimes you need to do your training even if you are not motivated. So
Yes, I couldn't agree.
when it's raining outside, when it's snowing, when you are tired, you need to do your training, and that's it, right?
Planning. And once the planning is done, you feel good. I felt good. And then, okay, let's do it tomorrow. Let's do it the day after tomorrow. And so the planning itself feels very much productive, but without the execution, then it just doesn't work. And that's true for organization as well.
Today's guest is a transformation strategist, leadership advisor, and author of Switch On. His work bridges behavioral change and organizational strategy, helping leaders move from intention to real sustained impact. Let's begin with the big picture, Kiky. Everyone talks about transformation, but most efforts don't stick, whether it's individuals or organizationals. Something tends to break between ambition and reality.
Hmm.
Why do so many transformations fail despite strong intention, plans, or even resources?
I think there are plenty of reasons behind this one, and I think you and I have experienced enough that it is a complex subject. It's a complex ecosystem, but the most common one is actually a comfort zone. We might have heard it like many times, right? Our comfort zone, that's really where the dreams died or when the transformation doesn't really happen. But it's true, whether it is for personal or whether it is for organization, comfort zone is really the most typical one. And it comes in many forms, right? As an individual, it might be on your health, might be, well, I'm good enough. I'm not doing anything and I can already run a certain distance. I can already do activities and so on. In organization, it could be we are making good enough revenue year after year. Why do we actually need to change? So comfort zone is really the first one, I think, where plenty of transformation doesn't happen. But also, what I realized throughout the work that I did with my clients is that plenty of time there is a lack of alignment internally, and lack of alignment in the context of organization. It comes from the incentive more often than not. Actually, comes show me the money, right? How does the sales force actually bring the revenue? How do they work with the people behind on the back office to create those revenues, to create the right marketing plans along with the marketing team and so on. And so this type of alignment is also plenty of time is the reason why transformation doesn't happen. Sometimes people don't realize it, but the most frustrating one is that when they actually realize it, but they don't do anything about it. And so then the leader of the organization say, why my transformation doesn't happen? But people on the field actually, they know that they should be working together, yet they don't. And I think if I were to choose another one is like in personal side, and this is my own story, is that I always had this tendency to plan before, and it feels good to actually plan something, to plan the transformation. This is what I need to do. This is what I need to achieve. This is how I'm going to do it. Planning. And once the planning is done, you feel good. I felt good. And then, okay, let's do it tomorrow. Let's do it the day after tomorrow. And so the planning itself feels very much productive, but without the execution, then it just doesn't work. And that's true for organization as well. Plenty of them is very good in planning. And once the planning is done, they finish, they get out and okay, we got the plan, but everybody is happy. Nothing happens afterward. Go back to the day-to-day execution, right? And so then the transformation doesn't happen. I think these are the typical or the most common thing that happens, both on the personal, on the individual, and on the organization level.
I've experienced during a transformation, when a company wants to transform, they are planning a lot of things. And definitely after the meeting, people very good, but they fail definitely on execution, because also I believe they didn't take the right decision, because execution means that you need to make some trade-off, especially between short-term and long-term goals. So from your perspective, I mean, what are the hardest trade-off that people tend to avoid, and what happens when they delay them?
I think earlier when we talk about the comfort zone, the word comfort itself is the trade-off that people more often than not is not willing to let go, right? I'm from the individual example. If you are comfortable at waking up at 7 a.m., why would you want to wake up earlier to do a certain things? Maybe to run or to do some exercise, meditation, or whatever it is, right? And if an organization is comfortable in doing certain things when they need to invest on something, it could be investment on a tools, on a system, or bringing in an expert to consult with, and so on. They said, why should I do this one? And so I think letting go of that comfort, which is to a certain extent linked to letting go of a control, that's difficult. Because when we are in our comfort zone, we are in control, right? We know if we do A, the result will be B. If we do C, the result will be D, and so on. And when we try to change something and do something, and we lose that control, that's a tough one. And the second one is, well, the third one, comfort, control, and then the last one is about the identity, I think. And what I mean by that is someone or organization in this case who has already been known as the number one. They don't need to do anything. Even if it is a small organization, but they are niche in their niche, they are very good. Then they might be comfortable, they might be in control. And when they start doing something else, which might slow them down because they are doing something new, revenue might be a bit slowed down. But for the longer term, on the longer run, it will actually pick up much better. They start to say, okay, this is not who we are. It doesn't make sense to do this or that. And organization is just people, right? At the end of the day, the people that is within the organization, if they don't believe in that, then that's the trade-off that is very difficult for people to let go. Also, another one is I see what I call the warrior energy, whether it is people or whether organization. It's like I've seen organization where there are people with a very strong warrior energy, and it shows, for example, they would work extra time, always after hours, weekends, and so on and so forth. They do a lot of things. Quite often, it's not the one that actually bring the impact on the transformation. I don't say it's not good to have a hardworking team. That's good, but having a hardworking team on things that don't really matter or even counterproductive, that's actually not good. And so this busy work feels good. People, you see, I've already done my best and so on, but it doesn't replace a strategic thinking that is required from time to time. So it was a balance between what we said earlier about planning, right? We keep planning, we don't do, not good. We don't plan, we just keep doing and busy, it's also not good. So we need to have that. And the last one is that all of this type of letting go of comfort, letting go of control, the longer we actually wait to do it, then in the context of individual, well, the older we get, you and I already have now all the white hairs. But in a case, I think organization might be even worse because if they get delayed, they might not even exist actually afterwards, right? I had an experience where a team of organization that I was helping out. They were, oh, Kiki, but we need to do this one. This is very much important. We need to do this one first, and so on and so forth. Then I finally decided, okay, I think the team needs a wake up call. You know that what you said, all of that logically, that's true. But if you keep doing that one, what might happen is that in 6 months' time, whatever you build doesn't matter anymore because the company doesn't exist anymore. It just misses the revenue. It will not be able to survive and so on, right? So I think really delaying, taking the hard decision, letting go of the comfort zone, letting go of a certain control to actually gain the transformation is very, very important.
One thing, I mean, which is important that I think you mentioned is about identity. You tell us that you need to let things go and embrace your new identity. So let's talk more about when transformation becomes your identity. So when does transformation stop being only about a goal? but start being about your identity, meaning who you are as an individual and so who you are inside your organization.
I think that is something which I realized during my own journey. Intellectually speaking, I have understood the importance of it, but really living it during the transformation is a different thing, because then it's not only about the brain but the heart as well, the emotions. I always give these examples of someone who wants to change the habit. They want to become a vegetarian, for example, right?
Mm.
And so when they want to become vegetarian, they would try to be vegetarian. They would try to cook the dishes with the vegetable only. They will try to understand the different macronutrients of vegetable, the one that is good. They will try to remove the temptation away while going out with the friends and so on. And the keyword here is that they are still doing the effort, whereby eventually when they become a vegetarian, when there is this tipping point, they become vegetarian. Or if you know someone that is already vegetarian since they grew up or they are raised being vegetarian, you will ask, do you still need an effort every day that you need to motivate yourself to not eat the meat? I don't think so.
Definitely, definitely.
And so I think that's the importance of having the identity. And if an organization, or if you are inside an organization and you start to see yourself to a certain identity, whether it is in the R&D, whether it is product management, whether it is sales and so on, and you set your identity to a certain way as a successful product manager, as a thriving sales manager, and so on and so forth, your behavior will change. Our behavior will start to think, facing a problem or challenge, we said, what would that famous what would MacGyver do, right? That would be the same. What would a leader do in this type of situation?
Mm.
And so I think that is very much important when it comes to transformation, to eventually focus on the identity shift.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, honestly, the example of a vegetarian is great, because it's very easy to understand that when you change, it's not an effort anymore, right? This is your standard. This is your way of thinking. Before transformation begins, there is usually a moment of reckoning, a truth we've been avoiding that suddenly demands attention. What truth about yourself were you avoiding, and how did you finally catch up to you?
I think I will take my the fitness transformation that I did as an example in this case. I have always been someone who is active
Mm.
since young days, right? And so I always thought that, hey, with my activity, with all the things that I've learned in the past from friends, from teachers, from YouTube, from whatever it is, that's something that is enough for me to reach my goals at all times. And in this particular case, I wanted to change my energy. I wanted to change, I wanted to lose weight. I wanted to not feel pain anymore in the body as I grew older. And so the truth is that I've been trying, and I've been trying for years. And the fact of the matter is that throughout that years, yes, it's up and down. Looks good, looks not good. But if I were to look at just the weight itself, I keep actually increasing the weight progressively, steadily, slowly, until the heaviest I was about 80. And it's not about just the look or things, no, but I know that having that state of being, it was not good, not for me, not for my family, not for my business, because it impacts everything else. It impacts the energy in which I take challenge. It impacts the way I think. It impacts my mood. It impacts different
Mm.
things, right? It impacts even myself evaluation toward myself. How did in the world I'm not able to actually change myself all these years? I try all of this, and then I finally realized, okay, maybe I actually need to do things that I've never done before. And so that's where finally it hits me. I know the way was to find someone that has already done it, and then just ask for the blueprint, take out the guesswork, and then follow it. And that's what I finally did, right? And so just before, yeah. And so I think that was the one which is really my reckoning, to say, okay,
Okay.
I need to do other things. I've never been a subscriber to the gym. Then finally I subscribe to the gym. I want to try different things. Then I get someone to actually teach me how to do things.
Mm.
And I think that was the one that was really make a big difference.
So, okay, so Kiki, even when there is clarity, transformation doesn't happened, in isolation. There is often a guide, a coach, or support systems, that will help you to overcome all the challenges of transformations. But the thing is, ownership is personal. So what can leader learn from the coach client dynamic?
The first thing is that for me, when I was finally realizing that I need to have someone that have already done it to be able to remove the guesswork, there are two aspects of it. The first one is that I need to be able to trust the person. The second part of it, even though I trust the person, I will still challenge certain things. Challenge not for the sake of challenging and trying to prove that I was right and so on. No, but whatever is being given to me, I will then find out what are the even better way that is a kind of like a variation of be given, right? So in this dynamic, number one, if I put it in steps, number one, I trust whatever this is given. And for me, an example was I didn't know how to eat properly. So that one was a tough one for me. I didn't know how to eat properly. I didn't know how to do weight training because I've never been in a proper gym and do things and so on. And so trusting my coach to actually teach that one, I said, well, he asked me like, so what type of weight can you do? I just give me whatever and I will do. But then after other things, I will be asking, okay, other than weight training, what kind of thing that I need to do? You actually need to do some cardio. What type of cardio? You just do a certain target and so on. Then I found out on my own what type of cardio can I actually do. Then I found out about HIIT, I found out about MISS, LISS, whatever it is. Then try to find out, okay, what he already said, then I improve it, then I just do it over and over again. So that was the first one. But then the second one is about the ownership, right? Like what you mentioned. Whatever it is that the blueprint that he gave me, then if I don't do it, then it's also useless, obviously. I was being told that you need to push yourself to close to failure. But then I cheat myself by actually I'm not close to failure, but I stop, for example. Or you need to do this X number of time per week and so on, and I cheat myself and so on. Then that sense of ownership then is also not good, right? In this type of ownership, I think one thing which I'm also interested to hear your story afterward is like, how do you maintain the accountability with it? Because, for example, you and I now work when we actually help business owners, entrepreneurs, and so on to actually do, right? And so they own the ownership. We give them advice, we give them sometimes the blueprint, sometimes we sit together and try to find out part. But then one thing that is missing is that might be missing is the accountability. If that person, whoever it is that we advise on, or in my case, I was being advised by, but if I don't feel accountable to him or her, then it will be easier for me to cheat, not to do things, and just to lie to myself, right? So I think this type of accountability is very much important in the coach-client dynamic. And this is also true for mentor-mentee within organization. It could be true for organization that hires a consultant, an expert from outside. This type of accountability must be as well there. It's not because I pay him, then I don't accountable to him, no. So that's very much important. Also, the third point was about the support. Means that in this case, there is the coach, there is myself, but then the support is not just the two of us. It's also from my family, from my wife, from my kids. When I need to change my food to healthier choices and so on, at the very beginning, the taste might not be as rich as it used to be. I need their support. I need that they understand if I don't eat the same food as them, for example, which eventually they say, oh, I actually want to try yours. And then, oh, I feel better and continues. So I think this dynamic between trust, still having your own ownership, accountability, and support, I think that's very important.
Yeah, this is clearly true. I will also mention one other thing which is important that will also drive trust is psychological safety. So that means when you truly trust someone, you can tell your weaknesses because you know that you will always have support. And I know that when I work with some of my clients, building this psychological safety is very
Mm,
important. Sometimes people are telling me some very hard truth, and also so a lot of true that no one, I mean, everybody knows, but no one want to say it, to the top manager. And sometimes you are the guys which is in between, all of these stories,
mm,
and you are the guys which need to inform, your top management that their team are struggling with this. This is something really highly, highly important also. Definitely. I fully agree with you. It's a mutual trust relationship with your coach.
That was there was one time where I was in engagement with this client where the CEO of the certain business unit was involved with the VP, SVP, and so on. And when we were planning the final workshop for the team to get related to innovation, their problems, and so on and so forth, then the SVP was asking, the EVP was asking like, so what type of support do you need from me for this final workshop and so on? Then I told her, oh yes, yes, we do need one support for you. Please don't come for the workshop. Because when you're there, your team will not speak. They
Yes,
are all afraid of you. They are all going to wait for you to speak your mind first, and so on and so forth. So,
that's great.
and that was required a trust from her because it's not easy for her to think, oh, what do you mean I wanted to support and you asked me not to come? But then afterwards, she was very happy because the result of that workshop with the team was then the team was able to communicate better. They were able to do this and so on. Then it makes her realize as well that, oh, indeed, okay, there are things that in the dynamic is very much important. She might be mentoring them and so on, but also like in what type of situation environment she did continue to be. Right?
It's very difficult to have open conversation when your top manager is there, right? Now let's move to the execution part, right? So this is where transformation, become real.
Yeah.
And also quietly, unravel also. So trade-offs, get tested, relationship shift, habits, either sticks or snap back, right? This is the moment of truth. So how do people and organization let go of what's familiar but not longer valuable? So the question is really, how do they do this?
Yeah, that's it circles back to the first point that we discussed, yeah, the comfort zone, right?
Exactly.
Letting go of things. I was talking about this small framework that I call Erica framework, right? E being eliminate, R is retain, I is improve, C is to create, and then A is to automate. The most difficult one is eliminate. It's
Okay.
not only logically difficult, but I think it's very difficult because it's related to the emotional. Even at work, as silly as it might sound, some people might think that we need to let go of certain processes, we need to let go of things, and it's whether they realize it or not. Often it's emotional attachment to that particular process. Something simple. I think you and I have experienced this together in our organization before. Plenty of reporting, right? There is weekly reporting, monthly reporting, daily reporting, and so on and so forth. Uh, I'm not saying that's not useful, but eventually it might be not useful. Sometimes a good leader might actually ask for a report where the leader doesn't need the reports. Actually, the leader just want, in the process of creating a report, that their team actually understand what they have already achieved, for example. So as long as this type of thing is serve really a purpose, that's good. But more often than not, just taking an example of creating reports. People just create reports for the sake of creating reports, and at the end, whether it is minutes or hours, some reports takes hours to prepare, then they are just wasting things where they should be letting it go. Does it really bring value to the organization to have this one? If yes, is it the best way of presenting it? Is there another way of creating? Instead of waiting on a monthly basis, don't you want to have a feedback immediately? So letting go of this type of thing will create the space for new things, which is coming back to the other, maybe to introduce something and so on. But it's always been the most difficult. And sometimes when we stop something, process, for example, just now the report, then it feels like we in the past I was able to do this one, even though we are busy with two things and so on. How come now my team is not able to do it? Are they do they fail, or am I failing to help my team to do certain things? And so I think that was the part where plenty of organizations I've seen really had a hard time. Now, I think there's a good quote from, I think it was Elon Musk, saying that if in your process you don't bring back a certain thing again, then it means you don't eliminate enough. And I think there is a certain truth to it. It's scary to eliminate, and then eventually, I was mistaken. actually this one is good. We need to bring it back. But you will find out that 80% of the thing that we eliminate stay eliminated. We actually don't need them. So I think that's very important on the organization or individual level.
Okay, so let's move to the momentum part, right? So now you are starting to change, and with support and momentum, I mean, sometimes your old version of yourself pulls us back, right? It might be a voice, a belief, a behavior. It's part. This is part of the works. What part of your in your body transformation? What part of your old self still tries to pull you back?
I think it relates to the one that was to be eliminated in the first place. And this is where I think majority of people fail to do, or fail to do because they are not able to do it, or because they actually do not know, which is related to nutrition. One of the things that need to get rid of was the unhealthy food. And all the food, it has some benefit. Some food don't have benefit at all. But even healthy food, if we take it wrongly, in the wrong composition and so on, it actually gives some disadvantage to us, right? Also, letting go of alcohol. I love to drink beer. When I travel to different country, I always try to taste the local beer. And I even have a photo collection of the different beer in Myanmar, Hanoi, France, yes, and so on, right? And so when I know that that actually doesn't help me at all in my fitness journey, from one day to the other, I stop. Or at least I told myself during the journey, I will stop, right? So after 3 months, I finished mine. I said, okay, I can do 3 months. Why don't I push it a bit further? And at the end, I told myself, if I can stop for 1 year, then I have maybe one glass of it. So
Yeah.
I managed to do that. After 1 year, I drink again. I said, wow, I missed this one. And that was the one that tried to throw me back, right? So of course, beer is an example of it, but the one that is not easy to identify. Snacks. I love to eat the small snacks, small chips, small crackers, and so on. Whereby behind it actually just ruined the whole program because it give empty calories, or it bring calorie but doesn't bring any benefit in the body, and so on. So that's the one which is like pulling a lot of on myself back. But I want to ask you earlier as well, like you asked plenty of this discipline, and in particular, the one that caught my attention when you asked me about you need to have a support relationship that shift and so on. So, what is your experience on this fitness journey, on the transformation and so on? What do you yourself do? I mean, I've met you many years back, but since then I haven't really met you for a long time. So
Yeah, I mean,
how do you know about that? I mean, how do you feel about this? What do you do?
you're right. I mean, the one thing is, I did some triathlon. So I did some,
Oh, nice.
yeah, so Ironman, and also I did triathlon, which is 24 hours triathlon. So, and the thing is, when you are doing triathlon, it's finally, this is 3 sports, because you need to swim, you need to bike, and you need to run, so if you just do twice each sport, it's 6 training. And because also it's endurance sport, you need to train a lot. So I do have some experience on that. And let's be honest, I mean, our support are the best, our family, coaches. I was also struggling with nutrition, to be also honest with you. And yeah, definitely.
What
This is
was the
something
most
which is,
difficult one for you, Stefan?
for me, nutrition is more about, the ice cream, at the end of my dinner every day. To be honest, this is my weakness. Cream, But anyway, definitely. I mean, this is a lot of discipline. One thing is, if I need to summarize this in one idea, is really to be disciplined. Not really motivated. You need to have motivation, but this is not the most important, because sometimes you need to do your training even if you are not motivated. So
Yes, I couldn't agree.
when it's raining outside, when it's snowing, when you are tired, you need to do your training, and that's it, right? So sometimes you need to have this discipline, and this is definitely part of the journey. But it was an amazing experience.
I was wondering about how did you see yourself as an identity back then when you are training for this 24-hour endurance? I can only imagine.
Exactly as you mentioned regarding the vegetarian person. At the beginning, when I start to train, really at the beginning is very difficult. This is very difficult in terms of energy. It takes a lot of physical energy, a lot of mental energy. It takes a lot of energy. But when it's part of my identity, I mean, after few months, this is my routine. So not doing sport is difficult rather than doing sport, right? So this is something which is very strange, but when you realize that part, at the end of the day, you realize that sports, triathlon, whatever it is, this is part of your identity, and definitely it takes less effort to maintain those identity. And I love about your book is that you are structuring all of those ideas, and this is very easy to replicate that, and definitely that will help even me. That will help me to redo sports, maybe to have a better control of my nutrition.
Maybe if you don't mind, like sharing a little bit on the book side, which is I put it on the back here.
Oh
I
yes.
have it here. I call it the switch on because and here the keyword is on the switch. And the part that I already put here is the journey to your best self. Here it could be as individual or as organization, right? And this notion of a switch, which is a trigger, I think that is the one that not many people realize it. Not or if they realize it, they don't have the structured way of making it happen. And even for someone who has already like found and proven it and so on, it's gotten pulled back again. It's I've already known that I need to create this triggers in my mind. I need to create this little switch in my mind that when I don't feel like doing certain things, I just switch it on and I will do it. This switch it on could be based on something that I want that pull me toward, or it could be something that I want to avoid, that I don't want to do. And by creating this list of a little switch, we can activate that one at any moment, right, on demand when we actually need. And that's really my mission right now, which is to empower people and organization during the transformation toward the best version that they could be. And through the understanding of this switch and how to put that into part of the daily lives as well as the daily life in the organization.
Okay, so now I have another question for you, Kiki. Is finally, if transformation is just the entry point, what does it unlock? Let's look at what comes next, right? So if transformation is a gateway, what comes next?
I think that's the most interesting part actually, because we don't know. And when I say we don't know, what I mean by that is that when you transform yourself and being the best version of yourself, when you transform the organization to be the best version of the organization, we don't know what it will bring in terms of tangible result. Because the moment you transform yourself as an individual, you have more energy, you have more clarity. Even when you are pulled back, you can get up again and do. Then in terms of your contribution to your family, to your community, to your country, depending on what type of thing that you pursue, it will just snowball. The ripple effect will just continue to grow, and it will hit someone else again. It will influence them. It will aspire them. It will inspire, and it will continue, right? Similarly, if you are an organization, let's talk a small organization. They did a transformation. It means the organization survived the first 5 years of the startup's failure, let's say, statistically speaking. Then it means that within the organization, the teams, the family of that team, they actually flourish. They continue to live their life properly without worries. Then the value that the organization create will then create another value and so on. So the truth is that I believe that we should really try to be the best version of ourselves, individually and organizationally speaking, because we just don't know what type of positive impact that it might actually bring. So I think while it is true that a certain transformation will be followed by another transformation, in our mind it's just that we keep it open, we transform the one that was as clear as possible in front of us, we do it, and then we see where it actually brings us. And by the moment we are almost at the end of the transformation, we will probably start to see, okay, this is actually what is next. I didn't expect that I would finally write my first book, thanks to the fact that this transformation is something that I can talk about, that I can share in that book, right? So it's just really one after the other and just go with the flow.
Kiki, thank you very much for sharing your own transformation and how this is related to business transformation. And I think also you mentioned different things about the change mentality at individual level, and also maybe in some way you touch what it means, the champion mentality, because definitely transforming is not something easy, and you just demonstrate that you did it from yourself, And also you are supporting very well and in a very great insight organization. And your book is, I read it and I see it's just an amazing thing. Even for me, which did some triathlon, I've learned a lot on this book. So just for that, thank you very much, Kiki.
Thanks, Stefan, for having me.